Hi, Rabbi. Can't hear me. No.
Hey, Jeff.
Good, thanks. And you, John?
Good, thank you.
Rabbi can't hear us. I'm just sending a message. Can't hear you. Okay, so send this thing. Has that message come through, John?
No, I haven't got a message from him.
No, I'm sending a message to tell him that I can't.
Oh, yeah, because he's on mute.
Is that why?
Yeah. Rabbi, you're on mute.
Rabbi, you're on mute.
So, I'm just going to go and get a coffee. One twice.
No, thanks. And take that coupon.
Hi, John. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Ken.
Hello, Kent. How are you?
Oh, good. And you?
Good, thank you. Same, the rabbi's got a technical problem. The speaker.
How do I send this message?
Yeah, it's gone through. I can see it, Jeff.
Oh, on mute. Okay. Yes, there it is.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, David.
How's it, Dave? How are you?
Fine, thanks. You, John?
Good, thank you.
Good. I'm
The
just
rabbi's having a problem with his sound.
Oh, I'm just going to turn my TV sound down.
Oh, there, it looks like the rabbi's not on mute anymore.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, Rabbi.
Can hear you, Rabbi.
Yes.
Baruch Hashem. Looked like there was a loose wire,
Oh, shame.
which I've tightened.
Can't see your face, Rabbi. Oh, yeah, it's very light behind you.
Hey, gentlemen.
Hi, Stephen.
How are you, Steve?
Hello. Now we can see you.
Now you can see me. Okay. The main thing is you should be able to hear me. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah.
All right. Let me just get the screen share going.
I'm going to close the door.
Sorry for the delay. struggling to get the. I don't know why it's not letting me screen share. Apologies, let's try again. Never had this problem before. All right, let's try again. Let's see now if we can get it.
Maybe we should.
Okay, I got it.
Have you got it? Ah, there we go.
There we go.
Well
Yeah,
done.
Okay, sorry for the delay. Let's get started straight away. Welcome, everybody.
Rabbi.
Thanks, Rabbi.
Okie doke. So you're ready. Been a week or so into the wonderful Lebedike happy subject of Tzoras, the leprous-like curse, a now extinct malady, which would show up on people's skin and on their clothes and on their houses even, mainly if they it was a spiritual thing, not a medical thing, if they spoke Lashon Hara or other sins, but Lashon Hara is the most famous one associated that could lead to that result of tzoras. And we continue. So it's quite technical, but there are some interesting points which I'll share with you. So we have different terminologies, which I did my best to look up to try and explain what they mean in plain English. So let's see how we go. Misha hoisa boy baheres. If a person had baheres, what is baheres? Baheres is a lesion that is white as snow. Whether at the outset or after isolation, he was definitely deemed as impure. You learned already that who is the doctor who decides if a person is pure or impure? It's not the MD, it's the Kohen. And the Kohen was a specialist in determining what these lesions looked like and whether they were real tzoras and made the person impure. And if so, he had to go into isolation, into quarantine. You heard about such things. Long before COVID, the Torah had people quarantining if they had tzoras.
yeah.
So if he was first deemed impure because he had the signs of impurity, and then the tzorat spread over his entire body. Now, this is an irony and a paradox that if you have it in one little small spot of your skin, you're tomei. If your whole body's got it, you're tohor, you're pure. It's quite an irony. So I looked it up, and it says because that is not tzoras. Tzoras is blotches and spots. But if the whole body has it, it's not tzoras, it's something else. So that's the first halacha, which is interesting. Now, the following rules apply when a person comes initially while he's entirely white with tzoras. So he's all white, but he has a patch of healthy skin or 2 white hairs. He's tomei. Because it's not the whole body now. There's an exception. If there's no sign of impurity, he is isolated for 1 week. Then the Kohen comes back and to check after a week, and if there's changes. If white hair or patch of healthy skin emerges, then he's definitely tomei. If no sign emerges, nothing changed, he's isolated for a 2nd week. If there's still no change, he's pure. Well, the laws applying to this large baheret are the same as those governing a small one. So sometimes it's unclear if he's tohor or tomei, and he would be isolated for a week. Then the Kohen would do a 2nd examination and see if there were changes which would deem him pure or impure. If he was deemed impure because of 2 white hairs that emerged and either both or one of them turned black, or either both or one of them became short, or a boil grew next to either of them, or one of them, either of them or one of them, or encompassed both of them or one of them, a boil, a healed boil, a burn, a healed burn, or a bohak, divided one hair from the other, he is pure. If white hair or healthy flesh emerges, he's impure because he came initially while entirely white. So there was changes which deemed him impure. Have you learned what bohak is? Who remembers what bohak is? Bohak is like a white rash on a red-skinned face. Okay, I looked up a lot of terminology before the shir today. Whether the tzorat spread over the person's entire skin all at once or little by little until he became entirely white, if it occurred while the person was isolated or while he was deemed definitively impure, he is pure. Because he's now the whole body, so we see it's not classical tzoras, something else. If it occurred after he was released from the inspection process, now he's impure. And if it occurred at the outset, he should be isolated. Similarly, it is irrelevant whether the blemish is entirely of one shade or it's entirely white, but has the 4 shades of white and the 4 shades of petuch intermingled. I didn't see this one, petuch. Do you have petuch?
No. Don't think so.
Petuch is a white hue, H-U-E, with slight redness mixed in. So it's different from bohak. There's a bit of red there. All of these shades can be combined and considered as a single blemish, even if they're all different, whether to cause the person to be declared tohor or tameh. Following rules apply when a person had a baheret. So we already said a baheret is a snow white lesion the size of a gris. How much is a gris? Anybody know? Did you have gris before?
Yeah.
not to be confused with grease. A gris is the size of a bean. So if he had a baheret or snow white lesion the size of a bean, in which there was a patch of healthy flesh the size of a lentil. So now what's bigger, a bean or a lentil?
A bean.
It seems so, because inside the size of a bean, there's another color the size of a lentil. So clearly a bean is bigger than a lentil. And he was deemed definitively impure because of the healthy flesh. Afterwards, the tzarat spread over his entire body, and the healthy flesh disappeared. Or the healthy flesh disappeared, and then the tzarat spread over his entire body. So because it's over his entire body, he is now pure. This applies even if white hair emerges. If, however, healthy skin emerges, now he is impure because, again, the entire body is not affected. As it states in Leviticus 12, on the day he exhibits healthy flesh, he will be deemed impure, provided the healthy flesh is the size of a square superimposed on a lentil or larger. So the healthy flesh, which is the exception to the whole body, has to be a minimum size. Different rules apply. Are any people here Kohanim, by the way?
No.
I'm just wondering how seriously you're taking this, because you might have to do all these examinations one day soon. Yeah. Okay. When I read this, I thank God I'm not a Kohen. But I have two sons-in-law now, grandsons who are Kohanim. Okay. Different rules apply if one had a baheret, a snow white lesion with white hair, and he was deemed impure because of it, and afterwards the tzarat spread over his entire body. Even though the white hair remains in place, he is pure. Did I read this already?
No.
Rabbi, I don't understand something
Sounds
about.
very familiar to the last one. What's that?
Can I ask you? The tzara spreads out his entire body. He's pure. It's tzara. It's not anything else. That is because he's pure. It's so.
That's what we said at the beginning. That if it's an irony, it's quite a paradox. That if it's over the whole body, he's actually pure. But if there's
but then you looked it up and it wasn't tzara. It was something else. But it is tzara.
No. If the whole body has it, he's pure, because then it's something else. A classical tzaras is on parts of the body, on different spots, on otherwise normal body. If the whole body has it, this is a different issue. It's not classical tzaras, so he's not tomei. Okay, now, so here we're saying that different rules apply if he had a baher with white hair and he was deemed impure because, and afterwards it's spread over the entire body. Even though the white hair remains in place, he's pure. As the verse says, on the day he exhibits healthy flesh, he will be deemed impure, meaning that a person whose entire skin turned white after being impure or being isolated will become impure because of healthy flesh, but not because of the odd white hair. If he was deemed impure because his blemish spread and then it continued to spread and covered his entire body, he'll become pure when it covers the whole body. But if there's any healthy flesh, that are exceptions, there are spots of healthy flesh, he will be impure. It's only if the whole body is got it, then he's pure. 4. Even the tips of limbs that do not impart impurity as healthy flesh when they're located in the midst of a baheret do impart impurity and prevent the person from being deemed pure if his entire flesh turns white. So if the tips of his limbs are not affected, he will be, even if the whole body is, that will make him tomei. So if a person who was definitively deemed impure or was isolated, whose entire flesh turned white, with the exception of a lentil size of healthy flesh, even if the healthy flesh is located on his fingertip, the tip of his nose or the like, that will be sufficient to render him impure, because now it's not the whole body anymore. There's just these tips of limbs that are not affected, and that will mean that he is tome. Similarly, if a person's entire flesh turned white and he was declared pure, and then a lentil size of healthy flesh returned, even at the tip of one of his limbs, he should be definitively deemed impure. If his flesh turned entirely to a shade of tzaraat, except for a lentil-sized portion, even on tips of limbs that turned to a bohak, he should be deemed definitively impure, as the verse Leviticus 13. If the tzaraat will cover the entire skin, imply that it must be covered by tzaraat, not a bohak. Even if part of the lentil-sized portion was healthy flesh and part was a bohak, it is not impure. So the slightest little bit, even a small lentil size that is healthy when the whole body is unhealthy will make him tome. If a person's entire flesh turned to one of the shades of saras and he was declared pure, and then a portion will turn to the color of boak, he remains pure until he exhibits a lentil size of healthy flesh, as implied by the verse, on the day he exhibits healthy flesh, implied meaning he has to exhibit healthy flesh, not a bohak. That's also like tzoras. If a lentil-sized portion of flesh changed appearance, part was healthy and part was a bohak, it is not considered a sign of impurity, and he's still tahor, pure. 5. Whenever tzoras spreads over the entire body of an impure person, he becomes pure. If a lentil-sized portion of healthy is revealed, he's impure. Even a lentil of healthy means he's tome. If his entire flesh was again covered with tzoras, meaning covering that one lentil, now he's pure again. If healthy flesh was again revealed, he goes back to being tome. He can go backwards and forwards between tumah and tahara, even if the cycle repeats itself 100 times. And as I've told you once previously, when we learned something similar about 100 times, what does it mean 100 times? Is it limited to 100? No. It means unlimited. It's just an exaggerated term, meaning infinite, never ending. If healthy flesh began to be revealed and it continues to grow and the size of the tzorat shrinks, it remains impure until the baheret becomes smaller than a gris, smaller than a bean. 6. Any portion of skin that is fit to contract tumah because of baheret but remains healthy prevents a person whose entire flesh is becoming white from being placed in that category. Meaning he'll be tome. Any portion of skin that is not fit to contract impurity because of it does not prevent the person from becoming white from becoming plain. So even if though there's a portion of skin that remains healthy, in this case, he will still be tahor. It's not fit to contract impurity because of baheret. What does that mean? So he explains. When tzorat spreads over a person's entire skin, but not on his head or his chin, nor onto a festering boil or burn, or there is less than a lentil-sized portion of healthy flesh next to a festering boil or burn, or to his head or chin, he will be pure. Those areas are exceptions. If the hair fell from the head and the chin, or if a scab formed over the boil or the burn, now he'll be tome until the tzara spreads to those areas as well, because those areas are fit to become tome because of a baheret. If there were 2 baheret, 2 snow white lesions, one had a sign of impurity and one was pure, the Kohen You can have a Baheret, but the Kohen has to determine what kind of Baheret is it. Some are good, some are no good. So one was Tomei, one was Toher, and the pure one spread to the impure and then covered the person's skin entirely, he'll be pure. The rationale being that he was previously deemed definitively impure, even though it was the pure one that spread. Furthermore, this ruling applies even if one of the Beheret was on his upper lip and the other one on his lower lip, or on two of his fingers or two of his eyelids, or his two eyelids. And thus, when they are close together, the two Beheret appear as one. Nevertheless, since Sarat spread over the entire body, he is pure. There are those who show their blemishes to a Kohen and benefit from doing so because they showed it to him early and did not delay, and others may suffer from doing so, meaning sometimes it'll be of benefit to the person suffering this malady if he goes quickly to the Kohen, and sometimes it's better he should not run to the Kohen. We'll explain. A person was definitively deemed impure. Then his signs of impurity disappeared. But he never had the opportunity to show this development to the Kohen before it spread over his entire body. He is pure. If, however, he had acted earlier and showed it to the Kohen previously, he would have been released from the inspection process before it spread over his entire body. Thus, it would have spread after he was released, in which instance he would be deemed definitively impure, as we previously explained. So, in this case, it's good that he didn't go to the Kohen. If he had a Baheret without any signs of impurity, and he did not have the opportunity to show it to the Kohen before it spread over his entire body, now he's impure and must be isolated. Had he acted earlier and shown it to the Kohen, he would have been isolated before it spread. Thus, it would have spread after he was isolated, in which instance he would be pure, as we explained. Let me share with you one halacha which comes out of today's Chumash. You know that we are learning Parshas Tazria this week. So the Chumash and the Rambam are aligned. We're learning the same subject. Today's Parsha, Monday, Sheni, has a Rashi that's very interesting that talks about this here idea of this last halacha, number 7. And it gives another example that you don't have to always run to the Kohen. So, for example, elsewhere in the Chumash it says that before you call the Kohen, next week we'll learn if a tzoras affects your house, a wall of your house, because it could infect clothing and a house as well. So you get these discolorations on the walls of your house. So it says, don't run to the Kohen. First take out things that if they're inside the house and the house is rendered tomei, those things will become tomei and you won't be able to purify them, like earthenware. So if you have some nice earthenware, you have nice pottery or china, take it out of the house before you call the Kohen, because if he says it's tomei, then they're going to become tomei, and those things cannot be easily purified. Kashrut. So, similarly, today's Chumash, Rashi says, what if a chosin, I went to a wedding yesterday, what if a chosin just married gets some spots on his skin and he's worried this looks like it might be tzoras? Oh man, I just got married. I'm going on honeymoon. I've got a week of Sheva Brachos. We're celebrating for a week. Is my whole celebration, my whole simcha going to be ruined because I got this tzoras now? Guess what Rashi says? Finish the week of Sheva Brachos and then call the Kohen. How's that? You see? Are you at Makaplan, eh?
Ja, maar een plan wat werk.
But werk, yeah.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
a question.
Yes, Ken.
I don't see any obligation upon a person to actually go to the Kohen at all. And it seems to be in line with what you just said about the chosim. There doesn't appear to be the fact, if you've got a rash, you need to go and have it checked out. Is there such an obligation as you understand it?
That's an excellent question. Have you been learning since chapter 1?
Yeah.
It wasn't covered in the previous 6 chapters, this issue?
I didn't see that there was any obligation. And, when was the obligation? Did you have to run the first day or the 5th day? I didn't see anything like that.
I don't recall any time limit when you have to do it.
Mhm.
But it does sound like you have to do it at some stage. And maybe people will not want to have contact with you if they see that there's issues here, because you may infect them.
Mm.
So there may be some social obligations as well.
Mm.
So I don't recall that it says anywhere in the Chumash that day 1 or day 2 that you must do it. But it says V'ro'ohu haKohen, and the Kohen will see him and examine him. So it seems like it is an obligation to call a Kohen. But you may call your favorite Kohen. Some Kohanim may be more lenient than others. Some people have colored glasses. They only see problems, Some people are more friendly. Okay, quick quiz. If a person isolated because of a baheret and then the tzarat spread over his whole body, what is his status?
Number 2.
Yeah.
Pure.
Thank you. Well done.
Yeah.
In the above scenario, does it matter whether tzaras was from different colors?
No.
No.
Thank
Number
you.
1.
Well done.
Number 1, yeah.
What a team we got here today. If one is entirely covered in tzarat besides one spot of healthy skin, what is the law?
Is impure.
Yeah.
Impure.
Yeah.
You guys are terrific. And finally, if one had a baheret with white hair and he was deemed impure because of it, and afterward the tzarat spread over his entire body, what is the law?
He's pure.
Remains impure.
Yeah.
He is pure.
4 out of 4, guys. I'm so proud of you.
He is, eh?
I'm having
Good, eh?
Rabbi, could I ask a question, please?
certainly. I don't promise that I know the answer. It's not my favorite subject.
At the end of Rabbi Hasdan on Friday, I think it was, he mentioned that the word netek, and he said it would be explained in the coming halachas, but it didn't come up.
You haven't had
Netek.
it yet? I'd have to look it up. I mean, I'm familiar with the term.
Why does Rabbi Darren?
Was it Rabbi Derek?
Was it Rabbi Derek, maybe?
Well, if you hang on 1 second, I'm happy to look it up.
Thanks, Rabbi. I need to run. Cheers, guys.
Well,
Cheers, Ken.
Bye-bye, Ken.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Yes, Kent.
Shkach, Rabbi, thank you.
Okay, if you're waiting for the answer, I'm looking it up.
The word, David?
Pardon?
What was the word?
Netek, Netek. And he said it would be explained in the next one. So maybe it was to be explained on Sunday by Rabbi Green, but he couldn't do the class.
I read the text and I didn't see anything like that.
No, this I haven't read it.
It's a term used in the Chumash. Let me just open a Chumash. Give me a second.
Sorry to delay you.
Not a problem.
Anyway,
Page 76. And 86 probably.
cool.
Just turning the pages of the Chumash till I find it. Give me a second. Whoever has to go, feel free. Whoever wants to wait around, I'll be a moment.
Google it. Well, I don't know what to Google.
You Google, tell me what you find. I'm looking at the Chumash.
I've Googled the word netek, but it doesn't come up with anything specific.
Was weiß
Was it-
Google für netek?
Was it spelled Netek, David?
That's what it sounded like, yes. I'm not sure if it was in the text. It might have been in the text.
Oh, here we are. Verse 30. So it's in this week's Parsha, Chamishi, chapter 13, verse 30. The Kohen looks at the Nesek lesion. Oh, sorry, 29. If a man has or a woman have a suspected saras lesion on his head or on his beard, the Kohen should examine the lesion. If he sees that its white appearance makes it look deeper than the skin, and the black hair in it has turned golden, the Kohen should pronounce him Tomei. It is called a nesek, which is a tsaras of the head or the beard area.
Thanks, Rabbi. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thanks, Rabbi.
that answers the question.
Well
Thank
done.
you, everybody. Have a
Thank
great
you, Rabbi.